Over the past week, I have been living a toxic or a negative cycle. And I didn't realize that I was living through that cycle until I started to meditate for this new moon. And chances are that this is actually a toxic or negative cycle that you yourself live and experience now or have many times in your past. As I was meditating with this new moon, I was brought to memories over the past week that included me working with myself or working with another person and having the best time ever. Really being in flow, time just passing by, having a lot of fun, feeling really good. And then all of a sudden, after a little while of this going on, my entire body being washed with fear and anxiety and having this very strong urge to run away, to walk away from the situation. And as this came up in my meditation for the new moon, of course, it begs the question of what exactly is going on here? Why is this happening? And as I asked that question, Orca came into my meditation and shared its wisdom and its medicine with me, and asked that I share what that message is with you, as well as other insights and medicine that it provided in addition to that. What Orca told me was going on, and what may be going on with you or has gone on with you in the past, is in those moments of me having fun while I was working, that joy, that playfulness, that smooth feeling made me believe that what I am doing is a waste of time. If something is fun and feels like play, it cannot be work. It is either play or it is work. It can never be the two. So if I'm having fun doing something, I must be wasting my time, and what I am doing must not actually be valuable. And that is what made me want to run and made me feel like that fear. And so Orca wants to share with us during this time period of the new moon, but because this is Orca and animal wisdom and medicine, even though we're going to be talking about this in the context of the Virgo new moon, just know that this is going to be timeless information that will serve you at no matter what point in time you are in your journey and no matter what point in time we are during the year. So what Virgo shared is it's very important during this time that we go with the flow, that we embrace play, and that we let go of the rules, perfectionism, and rigidity that we often place upon ourselves, or that we feel is placed upon us by another, or that we just feel like we have to live by because of the society that we live in. And we'll talk about why Orca is so important to this message in a moment here. But one of the questions that they really want us to ask ourselves during this time period, or whenever you're watching this video, is, who are you when you let go of the rules, restrictions, rigidity, and perfectionism that you place upon yourself? If you don't have those rules, if you shed all of that, who actually are you? And if you don't know the answer to that, that's okay, because this is a pivotal time in your life when you can explore that and you can figure out and find who that is and really come into your essence, to your inner magic, to who you really are at your core level. Now, another really important message that Orca wanted to share, another medicine that they wanted to give us, is around this concept that we have heard by many teachers in the past, which is to follow your curiosity. Now, we've heard this from other masters in the past and in the present, but using slightly different words. We've heard Joseph Campbell, who is definitely a teacher of mine, who used to say, follow your bliss. And that was his secret to success, to mastery, to life, and to joy. We've also heard this by Daryl Anka, I believe, who channels Bashar. And what they say is follow your excitement. But the Orcas are saying, we want you to focus on this right now using different words. We want you to follow your curiosity. Now, what is the distinction between bliss, excitement, and curiosity, and why is that so important during this time period? Well, you see, bliss and excitement are very emotion-based. Follow your bliss, follow your excitement. And these are really powerful messages. But we are currently in Virgo energy. So if you're in Virgo energy right now, or if you're just somebody who has a lot of Mercury in your chart, or a lot of air in your chart, maybe you are a Virgo yourself, Sun, Moon, Rising, Maybe you're a Gemini, maybe you're a Libra, or maybe you are an Aquarius. You tend to be more mentally oriented, more logic oriented, which is a powerful thing. But what that means is when you're asked to follow your feelings, what feels right? What are you guided to? Follow your heart, follow your bliss, follow your excitement. It sounds really great and it sounds really comforting, but it can be really hard if you're more mentally focused to understand what that means and to not overthink it. Okay, I think I should do this, but do I actually feel happy? Is this actually my bliss? Am I actually excited about this, or am I just really a little bit nervous about this? It can be really hard to settle into the body and feel those feelings. And so Orca is saying, hey, this is really powerful guidance, but we honor where you are on your journey, and we honor who you are and who you are meant to be. And if you are meant to be more logically oriented overall in life, or even just now in this time period, we want you to have this medicine, these blessings, these gifts regardless. And so we're going to work with you wherever you are at, because wherever you are at is beautiful. And so they say, follow your curiosity, because curiosity is more of the mental realm than of the emotional realm. Now, of course, everything is a part of all of it, but it's a little more of that mental realm. What do I want to learn? What am I curious about? What intrigues me? What do I want to know? These are all more mentally oriented terms. So during this time period in your life, start following your curiosity. With one caveat, the orcas say. What is driving that curiosity is very, very important as well. So when you think, oh, I want to follow this because I'm curious about it, ask yourself, why are you curious about it? I'm curious about this because, and then fill in the blank. Because that is equally important to allowing you to have that successful life, that blissful life, that joyful life. Because if you're following something that you're curious about because you want to prove somebody wrong, because you need to arm yourself with the facts because you think someone else is going to try to prove you wrong, because you are upset about something in the world and you want to fix it, these are all fine reasons, but they're not really going to serve you in the way that you think. It is perfectly fine to want to educate yourself on the problems of the world. In fact, in many ways, this is something that should be encouraged, so that when we focus on that, we can also find solutions. But if you're only curious about something for that, it's coming from a more negative driver. And what's going to happen is that curiosity is going to feed into more of that negativity. And the next thing you know, you feel negative, you feel stuck, you feel inundated with all this information, and all you feel is angry with no way to channel that anger externally to actually solve those problems, which will then make you feel guilty, and around the cycle you go. So the orcas say to follow your bliss, to have success in life, and to solve problems in the world that you would like to solve or are called to. Follow your curiosity, but make sure that it is because you are curious about it and not because it's coming from some other external means. That curiosity should come because this is interesting, I'm intrigued, I want to learn more, this is fun, versus, oh, I need to learn about this because other people are talking about it, and then getting sucked into that. Okay. So the message here is about following your curiosity. It is about going with the flow. It is about letting go of the restrictions that we put upon ourselves. And it's really about embodying that watery energy. So why orcas? Why animals in general? Where is this all coming from? So when I was younger, I grew up with my grandfather. He lived with us for probably about 15 years of my childhood, my life. And he was a very spiritually oriented person. And he would teach me to look to the animals for guidance on how to be a better human. So an example of that is he would say, when you yawn, open your jaw up full and wide and yawn with your entirety, because that is how the lions yawn. Observe how they operate and take that on in yourself. because when the lions yawn, they're releasing all of that tension, and you can release all of that tension from your system and find more peace. So when we work with animals, no matter what animal wants to come to you at that point in time, or if you're just drawn to an animal, they have a lot to teach us. Because at our core, we are animals as well, but we often forget that because we go about living in society. And really, we are animals at our core. So working with animals is a really powerful way to get down into your essence, whether you are feeling oriented or cerebral oriented. Either way, it's a way to bypass that conscious filter and really get to your core essence and the lessons that you're here to embody and grow through and share with others. So it's a really powerful way to get out of that conscious filter and get to the truth, which is what the orca is about as well. So why orca? So there are many reasons why we're going to be talking about the orca, and I'm going to weave that into all the lessons that we're going to talk about here. But let's just look at the orca on the external aspect first and foremost. When we look at the orca, we see that it is both black and it is white. It lives at both of these extremes, and yet it represents a perfect balance and complement of the two. Now, we see these kinds of opposites that are complements all over the world in many different ways and facets, but we often forget that it's not either or, it's both and. The orca is much like the yin and yang symbol, where the dark and the light are present in their opposites. And this is a really important message when we're working with Virgo energy, especially when the message is to go with the flow. Because of Virgo, the opposite sign of Virgo in the astrology zodiac is Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. Virgo is an earth sign. And Pisces is all about going with the flow, letting go of order, letting go of all the rules, just really working with that inner self. And when we tune into Virgo energy, it is the opposite of that. It is about perfection and rigidity and all those things that we talked about. And it can be so easy to think, I have to change all that I am to be able to go with the flow because I got to be on the opposite side of that spectrum. Or it can feel like that's just, I don't know how to get there. That's not a part of me. But the message of the orca is, it is a part of you. We carry within us both yin and yang. We carry within us both the dark and the light. We carry within us the opposite of who we think we are. And so we always have access to the full spectrum of who we want to be at any point in our journey, because we can't contain the all within ourselves. So that's one of the really powerful reasons why orca came in for us during this new moon in Virgo. But again, you can work with the orca at any point in time throughout your life, at any point in time throughout the year. Now, again, Virgo is an earth energy, but we're working with orca, which represents water, which is the opposite. But the two complement each other. And so without both water and earth, we would not have a planet that we could thrive on. If we just had earth and no water, we would not be able to survive, right? Life started in water. In many cases, I believe that's what they say. And if we did not have earth, we don't have fins. Maybe we would have evolved in a different way, but we wouldn't have anything to stand on. We'd have to be completely different from how we are. And we will talk about evolution as well, because that is an important message of the orcas too. So both are opposites. One is completely fluid and one is basically completely solid, if we're going to simplify the message. They're opposites, but they complement, and together they are greater than their individual parts. The sum is greater than the individual parts. And it's the same thing when we think about astrology signs. It's great to be very Piscean in nature and to have that flow, but without that structure, that flow goes all over the place and does not amount to anything real and tangible. It's great to be Virgo, who is very hardworking and perfectionistic and really wants things to be good and solid and wants those tangible results. But without the flow, there isn't that creativity that allows us to find those powerful solutions. And so when we marry the two together, when we complement these opposites together, that is when we have a true power. I just went to a brunch and wine tasting for a friend of mine's birthday. And as part of that catered event and wine tasting event, we were given a presentation throughout the process. And the presenter spoke to us about the three components of pairing your food with your wine. And if you follow those three main buckets, you probably will never go wrong, and you can learn how to bend the rules. The first one was around, just making sure, okay, battery saver's on. The first one was around making sure that there is an equal intensity. The second one was around contrast. And the third one that I want to speak about with you guys is about compliments. So the example that he provided is, let's say you're having salmon. Salmon lacks acidity, and a lot of times you'll be served salmon with lemon. But you could instead pair your salmon with a wine that has higher acidity so that the two complement each other, fill in each other's gaps, and the sum of the two is greater, or the whole is greater than the sum of those two parts more individually. And of course, as he was talking about this, because I am vegan, I was thinking about cookies, and I was thinking about black tea, because I like to drink English breakfast tea and I like to have it with these cookies. And it just creates this heaven experience in my mind. And it provided the perfect context for that, where the tea is good on its own, but those cookies are honestly really bland. But when you pair the two together, it is heaven. So what Orca wants to teach us is that we can access the full spectrum, and that no matter where we see contrast in the world, there are actually complements to be had. When we think about relationships, and especially for those of you who are in twin flame relationships, we think about how we can be so opposite. Opposites attract. Yes, they do, but also those opposites contain complements. If there are opposites and you don't find the complements, there must be a break. But if there are opposites, but you find the complements, that is when we have synergy. So this is a really powerful time for you to let go of the rules and the rigidity, and to embrace some of that creativity, and to marry the two together. Now, during this time period, or if you are more mercurial or air oriented, you may have this fear. Okay, but what if I go too far on the other side of the spectrum and I become too carefree, and everything that I've worked for, I just lose my passion for, or lose focus on, and it amounts to nothing, and then I've lost out? Well, my beautiful souls, just remember again, yin and yang. You can always come back to that structure. And a lot of times when you let go of the structure, that is really when you connect to your essence, and that is when you get downloads for what action you should take. And so even though you're becoming carefree, you're trusting in something that you're not even sure if you should trust in, you just kind of open yourself up, you will get the guidance you need to turn that into something tangible, because spirit is also all things, and it likes to embody both the yin and the yang, not just one or the other. So when you give yourself up and open yourself up and relax, you're giving yourself over to the cosmos and to flow. And in that, you must embody both the yin and yang. It's not going to be one or the other. But when you don't do that, you're really only on one side of that spectrum. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about orcas in general and how that relates. As we've talked about, the orca has both black coloring as well as white coloring. And so you may look at the orca and think, okay, black and white thinking, which is an important energy when it comes to Virgo, because Virgos can be very rigid. They can be very black and white thinking. They're sometimes criticized for being very critical themselves and having a lot of judgment. And of course, that really comes from wanting to be perfect in themselves and judging themselves even more harshly. But really what all of this actually means, and what a Virgo energy or mercurial energy actually seeks, and even, more logical oriented folks, so air energy folks, are really seeking with that black and white thinking is truth. And that is what the orca itself represents. Because when we have the black and white and we have these opposites, and we understand that it's about finding that balance, and that we have all aspects within us, in that balance is where truth resides. When you think about an economics class, if you've ever taken that, what was the answer to almost every question? Well, it depends. And what were almost all of the curves looking like? Bell curves, right? Everything is really about that balance, that symmetry. And when you find that balance, you find the truth. And so we may look at black and white thinking as a negative thing. And during the Virgo New Moon, you do want to release that, and you want to focus on what the aim actually is, which is to find truth. So during this time period in your life, ask yourself, what is my truth? And what do I think is true about the world? And what aspects of that are maybe leaning on one side of the spectrum over another? And should there be more balance in my viewpoints around that? Now, another thing about the orca that we mentioned is the term evolution. So orcas are incredibly, incredibly intelligent. So again, another perfect energy to work with during the Virgo New Moon, because Virgos are very, very intelligent. They're so smart, maybe some of the smartest people in the zodiac. So very, very intelligent. And with orcas, what that means is that they have developed different kinds of cultures depending on the families and pods that they live in. And those cultures have gotten them to hunt after different kinds of foods depending on where they are, and to develop new hunting styles for each different kind of prey. And so this is a time period where orca is asking you, how are you growing? And how are you evolving? And how are you being more strategic? Because in order to be able to develop different hunting styles for different kinds of prey, you have to have a more strategic outlook. And one of the things about Virgo is that sometimes we can get a little too into the weeds when we're working with this energy. We can get very into those details. Virgo is very detail oriented. So during this time period, we want to work with Mercury because we are more detail oriented during this time. So if there is anything that you need to focus on more specifically, this is a great time for that. But we also want to make sure that we don't get stuck in the weeds. It's okay to go in the weeds, but don't get stuck there. And so we may want to work with Jupiter energy as well during this time period. Jupiter is associated with Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And Sagittarius to me is a very, very strategic, broad, overlooking kind of sign. So Jupiter will be a really good type of energy to bring into your work during this time period, to honor, to kind of work with, to feel into, to read about, get curious about Jupiter and all the fun facts about it, to start embodying more of that strategic energy so that you too can have really powerful success, just like the orcas, and that you can develop new strategies depending on your situations in life. Orcas are also connected to harmony, and they're connected to protection, which again, I think is really powerful, because to me, the Virgos that I know are really, really fierce protectors. I have a lot of Virgo friends. I attract a lot of Virgos into my life, and they just have hearts of gold, and they are such fierce protectors. Now, it might be hard to get into the circle of a Virgo, but once you're in, you are in, and they're so generous and so giving. And I just think orca is such a powerful aspect of that, because orcas are also very social, and they tend to hunt in packs, usually of up to like 40 different orcas in their pack. So, when they have their pod, when they have their, their group, that's their people, and they're going to be there, and they're going to be fierce protectors. So is there anyone in your life that fiercely protects you that you may want to give thanks to or honor quietly in your own heart? And is there anyone that you feel really protective of that maybe needs your protection at this point in time? And this might be a good time for you to step into that kind of energy. Orca is also connected to harmony when we think about the more spiritual aspects of what orcas have represented. To me, that's also really powerful for Virgos. Virgos are the sixth sign in the zodiac, and number 6 is connected to family, it's connected to harmony, it's connected to, love, and it's connected to the home. And Virgos do tend to be very connected to the home as well. So this is definitely the kinds of powerful energies that I think are really wonderful and important. And if you want to start setting intentions around that, I think this is a really good time period for you to do that. Or if this is a different time and you're not working with Virgo energies under, Virgo New Moons, you can just connect to the orca and really connect with those same similar energies. Okay, so if you're in this time period where you may be dealing with some health issues, or you're concerned that there may be some health issues, this is a really good time for you to step into working with song, working with creativity, working with music, anything like that. So if you're looking for extra healing, this is a really good time to maybe put on some 432 hertz types of frequencies, because we're working with orcas. And of course, orcas are known for they're not actually whales, they're actually dolphins, but they're whale song. And that's an interesting point to mention as well. Orcas are actually part of the dolphin family, but they're sometimes called killer whales, killer, and then we associate dolphins as being playful and fun. And so it's, again, contrasting energy, and yet they embody all of it, and just the full spectrum, right, of that experience. So This is a time to work with music or song or energy, frequencies, things like that if you're wanting to up your healing game. Also, if you're dealing with any kinds of work issues, Virgo does rule the realm of work. So if you're dealing with any kind of work issues, whether you are annoyed at somebody or whether you feel stuck somewhere, this is also a really good time to work with song. Maybe you want to write your own lyrics. Maybe you just want to create a tone for yourself. Maybe you just want to listen to music that you really enjoy. This will help kind of clear out some of that gunk and that energy that you might be feeling during this time period. And I believe that is pretty much everything that we were going to cover today. So, as you work with the Virgo energies, or as you work with any of these kinds of maybe blocks or toxic patterns that you've been feeling where you're way too focused on work to where play makes you feel guilty or ashamed or bad or like you're slacking, and it takes the fun out of work and it takes work out of the fun, then start maybe working with orcas, and you can work with them on your own as well. All you need to do is kind of clear energy, calm your body down, however you like to do that, and invite orca into your energy field, whether you want to breathe orca in or you just want to kind of bring them into your body, or you just want to have a little chat with orca and just see what messages that they have to share with you. And if they bring up any kinds of toxic patterns, don't be afraid of that. Just ask them, what does this mean and what guidance do you have for me, and can you maybe give me a song that I can hear from you or that we can sing together to heal some of those aspects of ourselves. So thank you all so much. I hope that this video served you. I hope that you connect more deeply with the Virgo New Moon and also with the orcas and with animal medicine and magic, and just that beautiful connection of really allowing us to get out of our human egos a little bit and really connect to animals. It can also be really powerful to work with an animal because they're just so comforting in a lot of ways, at least when we work with their consciousness. Obviously, being next to a lion in real life without any kind of protection would not necessarily feel comforting. But, connecting with their consciousness and the wisdom that they have to offer can, just lets our ego down and allows us to really receive the truth and message and wisdom that our higher selves and our guides and our angels really would like us to know. So thank you guys so much. If you're interested in working with me in these kinds of journeys and actually meditating with your guides, with your higher self, and really connecting to your own true essence and your source and your life path in this lifetime and what you are here to share, what your medicine is to be activated within you, then I encourage you to join me in my Light Codes Activation course, Spiritual Activation course. You can find that at my website, www.spiritualactivationacademy.com. And the course is actually available on 2 different platforms, both Thinkific and Udemy. And Udemy has lots and lots of sales going on right now. So if you would like to join the course, now might be the perfect time for you. And aside from that, I will catch you in the next video.